Hey YouTube, this is Genovis again, coming with another piece from Procreate using the iPad Pro and the iPencil. With this one, this is continuing the Pokegirls section that I started in the last video. So on this one is a piece I'll call Ivy, obviously based off the Ivysaur. Now I learned some hard lessons here on the Procreate app. As you see, when it starts this image, you can't see your head. At the end I get the good full body shots that you can see it. But apparently I had a landscaped page and I flipped it vertical in the app, so when I transported the video, for some reason I could not get it to show the entire page. So for this, most of this entire video until you get to the very end, you're not going to be able to see the full content, especially when I zoom in later and it really starts cutting off some of the other aspects of it. But on the start here, you'll see me laying down just the basic structure lines, trying to figure out how the pose wanted. I kind of had in my head like I was going to have her sitting, legs crossed. So kind of lean back a little bit, and here you'll see me just putting in some of the basic lines and making sure my shapes look right. Getting the feet in. I already had an idea that, you know, with a lot of these on the Pokemon based females, is a lot of the proportions may be stretched, and some of the features such as the hands, feet, things like that are going to be more Pokemon-ish rather than actual human. So here I'm just still getting my basic lines in and figuring out where I want everything to go. Kind of the shape I want, how I want the head tilted. And you'll see as I go in here, I don't like the way I did it to start with, and I just take a selection tool and kind of crop the head and shrink it. I think I shrink it and tilt it down a little bit. Yeah, there it went. Now since I did that, I drew in and erased through some of the abdomen and making sure the breasts seem to line up with the body now. Again, a little less, you know, shapely on the sides because of the shape of the head I went with. I kind of shrunk the head down. Got the proportions about how I wanted them. Well, again, the leg was too long there. I don't know if y'all noticed. And I'm getting some of the facial features worked in. I'm about to go in and do like I usually do, and once I have it kind of laid out how I want it, I'm going to make a new layer and change the opacity, lower the opacity way down, and actually start some of my finished work on top of it. Here's me figuring out the plants as it went through, because I had the idea, well, with the back I'm going to have the plants kind of wrapping around and covering the nipples. But you'll notice right there, that might show a little bit, so you'll see me again use the selection tool and stretch it out just a little bit here in a second, so it actually would cover it if it was hanging there. And this is just heavy pencils. I think I'm using the HB pencil set a little bit almost all the way up, or maybe I adjusted the max setting of it up. Actually, this may be the technical pencil. Again, I'm still just getting the basic outline, make sure everything's exactly where I want it, kind of how the first outline went. And then I'll make another layer and start my third go through on it, and you'll see me really, that's when I zoom in and I cut off even more of the head. I apologize about that, but like I said, you'll be able to see a lot of the final head and features on the very end of the video. And I'm working in the eyes of this one, still sticking with a relatively anime-ish theme, and there it was. You know, I zoomed in, you can't even see where I'm working on my eyes and things now, but you'll see it as I start to work down the figure in just a minute. Eventually, there it went. So then you got working into where the lips are, and I start to do, I was doing here was the face and part of the jawline, and then I finished up the eyes and how, again, you can't even see it, but you're about to be able to see it as it works down the figure. And here what I did is I think I'm using the technical pencil here, set all the way up if I'm not mistaken, or I may have adjusted the actual top one up a little bit. I think I redid the face 3 times on this one because it just wasn't looking exactly how I wanted it to look. But the good thing is on Procreate, if you don't like something, whereas, you know, if you're working on paper, you're constantly erasing, and, you know, you really have to get your line work down to begin with. With Procreate, you know, you're not damaging it by erasing it over and over, you're just getting it to how you want it to look. There I am working now for some of the hairline. Again, you'll get to see that at the end of the video. Apologize again. Really wish I had known it would do that before I did the the drawing and flipped it over. I think I may do that to one other one as well, but you know, learn from my mistakes. Try not to do that anymore. And I think originally I had this as a landscape, and I was thinking, well, I'm going to landscape it and put it in, and you know, she'll be lean more back. But then as I started sketching it out, I was like, nah, she's really sitting more up, so that's the way I did it that way. And I'm just working in some of the heavier lines going through. Finishing out the breast there, making sure it stays round. Trying to keep it still cartoony. Even with the breast, you know, it's more of a cartoony. Breasts don't always sit like that. Working in the neckline. And here I was working on part of the hair, make sure that looked right. Anytime you can turn those other layers off and kind of see how it looks and how it's going thus far. And they just see me working in some of the other lines as they go down to the feet. Kind of had the interesting toenails there. Working through the legs. And I wanted a nice round kind of base wrapping around. Make sure she stays, you know, round, good looking. Working in the hands there. Not looking at it, I don't particularly like how I did the wrist there, but I mean, it looks like a hand sitting down, so I guess it's fine. This is all kind of a cartoony style based off Pokemon anyway, so I guess it can be kind of however it needs to be. And there I was playing around with some of the background pieces. And now I'm just laying in the flats, the flat colors. And then once I have all the colors laid in, I went in and made a additional layer. And on the additional layer, set it to multiply, and that's where I went in and started actually doing some of the shadows. There's some of the shadows working through. I was just going to figure out how I wanted the lighting, and I had it just coming from, you know, the top left up there to kind of shine down a little bit. I was making it kind of dark as I went through, and then choose my shadow layer and lower the opacity on it. There I just selected my green leaf layer. Again, set the shadows how I wanted it, lowered the opacity, and then moved on to the next layer. When I was doing my flats, I put each color onto its own layer. It's just, it makes it better for me that way. That way, if I don't like the color of something, I can go in and change the color if I want to. Now here I think is where I'm starting to figure out my background color, how I wanted it. I changed it several times, and now I'm putting kind of a rim light, some of the reflection coming off, and I was thinking left, slightly down left, and it was kind of reflecting onto the legs and the bottom of the breast there, and also her face you'll see in a minute, and then reflecting off some of her hair strands as they come down. Again, with the hair I didn't go too elaborate with it, but I just had it more of the cartoony based style there. And then I didn't like the background color, so I actually changed it a few times, and right there I actually took a watercolor page and put it behind the entire thing, and lowered the opacity on it, and you know, set it to multiply, and it kind of gives it more of a watercolor look. And here's several little look throughs of it, kind of getting the and one more last look at the head. You can kind of see how I did the hair and highlights there, and the eyes. Alright guys, well that was it. Well, thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. Next up is the Venusaur, which you might have seen in the middle of my Genovis intro. Thanks guys, thank you for watching.